I'm going to leave you with a few top tips, and we're going to leave them at the end of this session. So the first one is your raison d'etre, your vision, your mission. So I mentioned this a few minutes ago. When there is fog, and I used to do this an awful lot at Nike and a lot of the brands that I talked about have gone through recessions, great times, profitable times, times when there's been PR disasters and athletes doing all sorts of things that they shouldn't be doing that's impacting the brand, when Coca-Cola were going through threats with the sugar tax and they had to evolve and look at how they were going to diversify their product portfolio and buy in other brands that weren't as reliant on sugar. When Walt Disney decided he was going to make pictures move, and when Pemberton, the founder of Coca-Cola, decided he was going to make an elixir to make himself feel a little bit more energized as he was injured in the American Civil War as a pharmacist. He wanted to find something to pick him up so that he was combating the morphine that he was dosed up on. But all of these different stories show resilience in their leadership style. They show inspiration, and they had great fellowship. So that it's really important to remember that. But the one thing that all great leaders had, whether we were thinking of Steve Jobs or Martin Luther King or any great leader, is they inspire, but they were really clear and focused on what they wanted to achieve. So when the fog descends and when the panic sets in and when the stress and the long hours kicks in, remember that, focus on your raison d'etre. Also remember goals. I'm a bit obsessed about objectives. Remember, set yourself objectives, short, medium, long term, that are smart, that we make sure that we're measuring, that they're realistic and what have you, but making sure that you're putting in goals to get you through these times. So they could be financial, they could be human resource oriented, they could be a number of different goals, but make sure you're being clear on goals. The third point is be you. So we've mentioned this in terms of your personality type and being true to who you are. Number 4 is about communication and listening and talking. And there's that analogy that I sometimes use with my children about, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So just make sure that you are communicating to your team and you're listening to them, that you're making sure that you're listening to their anxieties, their concerns, but their ideas, their opportunities. And as a business, you're thriving off that and growing. Number 5 is don't pretend to have all the answers. And I alluded to this at the beginning, is, leaders, yes, need to lead and inspire, but make sure that you're calling upon your teams to help come up with ideas and to create this really strong collective. Number 6, and actually we're going to be focusing on number 6 in one of our next episodes, is about work changes and psychological safety. So the new normal inevitably is going to be about social distancing in the workplace, and as Twitter have announced in recent weeks, their home working regime is going to be their new normal, and they believe that is sustainable and they're seeing great results, and absolutely this is what they're going to do as a business. But with that, and as a thought for leaders, is how do you build together a collective? How do you still make sure you're motivating your teams and keeping them focused on what it is they need to do when you're disparate? So it's really important that we're thinking about the creation of strong environments and how leaders can create strong cultures. There's another great book that I also will recommend called The Why of Work by Dave Ulrich. And his partner, that talks about building abundance in organisations, and part of that is about building strong cultures. So more to follow on that one. Number 7 is about learning every day, and I hold a value really dear to my heart through my career during my time at Coke and at Disney and at Nike. I've always tried to remain really humble and always believe that I can learn more and that I can be a better version of myself tomorrow than I am today. Now that sounds a little bit, a little bit out there, I suppose, but I really try and live by that. I really try and think that I can learn from every experience, and I think it's about embracing learning and embracing evolution that's going to get businesses through this. Number 8 is about this survival of the fittest and this organisational ecology. Don't stand still. Don't be afraid of adapting and be nimble. Obviously, we need to make sure that we're using data and metrics to make decisions. We're looking at our environments, but we're also using our intuition, and smart leaders will use intuition as well as data to pull these decisions out. But I think the key is to have confidence in your decisions and make sure that they are considered, but to be prepared to adapt and evolve your business. And the team. So the team is about pulling together a strong team, thinking about your resources and really looking at what you can do to create A players, as Liz Wiseman talks about in her book. So as a multiplier, think about what you can do to help your team be more effective, be more motivated and be more efficient. Thanks for listening, and join us next week for our next chapter.